With people being canceled for the stupidest reasons imaginable, you can take a guess that some of the people being ousted want to stick to what they believe, but they are too scared, which is exactly what happened with Neo. But then he came out and explained why his apology isn't really an apology. Watch this.
What's going on, loved ones? This is Neo. All right, listen. I normally don't give too much of a damn about what y'all think about what I do, what y'all have to say about what I say, whatever. I normally don't care because, like I said, opinions ain't special. Everybody got one. However, this is something I feel very strongly on, and I need y'all to hear this from the horse's mouth, not the publicist's computer. So check this out.
Yes, we're going to break that down and a lot more on today's episode of The Demetrius Rujo Show.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast? I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Firstly, I would like to say that no one should ever apologize. Ever. The woke mob is always going to be waiting for you to apologize, and they will never accept your apology, even if you really do repent, thus leaving the only option to double down onto what you said before. This will let them know that the woke mob can never truly tell you what to do. But with that out of the way, we find ourselves in this situation with Neo. On August 4th, he went on the channel DJ Vlad and was asked a question that related to the LGBTQRSTUVWXYZZZ plus Ultra Max and said that he is not okay to start transitioning kids when they are 12. And says that they want to become the opposite sex. We shouldn't let them transition. And this is the same exact reason why we don't let them eat whatever they want to all day long. Here's a clip.
I feel like parents have almost forgotten what the role of a parent is.
Amen.
It's like, okay,
Lost control.
if your little boy comes to you and says, Daddy, I want to be a girl, and you just let him rock with that, you just let
Right.
He's 5.
Right. And where did he get that
If
from?
you let this 5-year-old boy decide to eat candy all day, he's going to do that.
Exactly.
Like, when did it become a good idea to let a 5-year-old, let a 6-year-old, let a 12-year-old make a life-changing decision for themselves?
Right.
When did that happen?
I applaud him for saying that, especially in today's age, where they will come after you for saying the littlest things. After a couple days, we receive an update from him on Twitter, also known as X, and he apologizes and he's like, oh, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings to the LGBTQRSTVWXYZ community, blah, 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 blah. It's like a copy and paste. Every single person does this exact same thing. But when everybody started attacking him for backing down and apologizing, he went to Instagram and he said this.
First and foremost, I do not apologize for having an opinion on this matter. I am a 43-year-old heterosexual man raising 5 boys and 2 girls, okay? That's my reality. Now, if my opinion offended somebody, yeah, sure, I apologize for you being offended because that wasn't my intention. My intention is never to offend anybody. However, I'm entitled to feel how I feel. I'm absolutely entitled to feel how I feel the same way you are entitled to feel how you feel. I ain't asked nobody to follow me. I ain't asked nobody to agree with me. I was asked a question and I answered the damn question, okay? I have no beef with the LGBTQIA plus community whatsoever. I ain't got no beef with y'all. Do whatever the hell it is you want to do. Do what you want to do with your kids.
Which, contrary to popular belief, is a back down. Whenever you say, quote, well, I'm entitled to my own opinion just like you're entitled to your own opinion, you just lost the argument. Also, he says that everyone can do whatever they want to their own children, which is the opposite of what I believe in and what conservatives believe in broadly. There are certain things you have to do for your children, and there are other things that you should never do, like abuse them, or transition them, or give them alcohol. So, I would have doubled down even harder, but this is about 30% of the way there and 70% of the way not there in terms of backing down and apologizing. So my verdict is that he wanted to back down, but there was too much heat from backing down, so he decided to stay in the middle of the road, and now he's getting hit by the car. That's my verdict. Now, without further ado, let's dig into the headlines of the week. Moving on to the first article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have at least 30 thieves robbed $30,000 in merch from upscale California fashion store, police say. A $50,000 reward is being offered. A group of at least 30 thieves robbed a Yves Saint Laurent store in Southern California in broad daylight on Tuesday, absconding with an estimated $300,000 worth of merchandise, police said. The brazen smash and grab robbery was caught on video just before 5 p.m. The store, located in Americano at Brand Mall in Glendale, just north of Los Angeles. Footage from the incident shows over a dozen people, mostly dressed in dark clothes, hoods, and masks, dashing into the store and running out again, their arms full of expensive merchandise. A person who appears to be an Amazon delivery driver can be seen as attempting to stop one of the thieves as he runs away from the store, but the culprit struggles free and jumps into a moving red sedan, which then speeds off. One person tells the apparent Amazon delivery driver not to struggle with the thieves, saying it's, quote, not worth getting hit by a getaway car, according to a local outlet, KTLA. Our community is very protective of the city, and we can understand that we want to be protective of them, Sergeant Victor Jackson told KTLA. Quote, we don't want them to intervene in something like this. This is ultimately a property crime that we are not going to stand for, but we want them to be safe, the officer said. Glendale Police Chief Manny vowed that, quote, this type of criminal activity will not be tolerated in Glendale, and said that the residents should expect an elevated police presence downtown. The Glendale Police Department will pursue all leads and utilize every available resource to apprehend these responsible and bring them to justice, Sid said in a press release. Now, I don't believe this at all, because California, the crime has been going exponentially, okay? We have not seen crime slowing down in California. We have seen stores closing in LA. And we have whole entire districts with no stores now because of the fact that they cannot turn a profit because everybody's stealing from them. So do I really believe that the police officers are actually going to do their job? No, I don't. And here's why. I do not believe that because of the fact, and this is a simple fact, that they don't want to be canceled online. They don't want to have the scrutiny online of arresting a person just because of the ethnicity of that person. That person, if they fit into a certain ethnicity, it's going to be against all protocols in California to be arresting that person, and that's not right. Quote, our commitment to the safety of our residents, businesses, and visitors to Glendale is unwavering, and our top priority, our city remains strong and united against lawlessness and criminal activity threatening our safety and well-being, the police chief said. A $50,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the perpetrators. The company that owns the mall where the Yves Saint Laurent store is located at Carrizo. We stand firm in our commitment to our security of our guests, tenants, residents, and employees. A Carrizo spokesperson said, quote, our company's top priority is to maintain a safe and family-friendly environment across all our properties, and we will not tolerate any criminal activity. California has plagued by smash and grab robberies for the past few years. Late last month, police said another group of masked thieves stole $900,000 worth of missing merchandise from a jewelry store in Irving, just south of Los Angeles and Glendale. In San Francisco, many stores have geared up with unprecedented security measures to try to deter shoplifters in a crime-ridden city. A string of major retailers have recently fled their downtown San Francisco locations, where foot traffic has tightened in part due to a spike in crime, including rampant shoplifting. Critics argue that the groups of thieves are emboldened by California's progressive prosecutors who rarely force shoplifters to face significant criminal consequences. And I completely agree, and this is exactly what I just said. So if California is not holding them accountable, what accountability are they going to face? Nothing, because they're not holding them accountable when it comes to the prosecutors for having them go in prison for years and years and years. Moving on to the next article, we actually have another Daily Wire article with California Dem announces end to campaign over, quote, lack of joy, then claims message was set in error. A Democrat running for the United States House Senate in Orange County, California, who sent out a message saying that he was suspending his campaign over a, quote, lack of joy, announced hours later that he actually has no intention of actually dropping out. Adia Pai, a 45-year-old, a 45th congressional district candidate, or I think it's Adida Psy, because I think the P is an actual S sound, but I'm butchering the name. Sorry about that. That's the only thing I will apologize for. Congressional district candidate seeking to win over the district represented by Rep. Michelle Steele, Republican from California, apologized in a second email on Thursday, claiming the prior missive was sent by a now former aide in error. Quote, I wrote that letter as an emotional preceding exercise after an exhausting glimpse into the political machine, Tsai said. Quote, I sent it to some of my mentors and staff for perspective before getting back to work. It was never supposed to be shared. Though Tsai conceded that he thought of, quote, calling it quits has occurred to me, he stressed that he will, quote, absolutely not be suspending my campaign. Tsai is a 31-year-old trial attorney who was born in Bombay, India, and moved to Southern California at the age of 8 with his parents. According to his campaign website, Tsai's key issues included fighting corruption in Washington, D.C., codifying Roe v. Wade, lowering the cost of housing, boosting small businesses, and encouraging more legal immigration. Yeah, this is the message here. This is actually on X right now. Dear friends, voters, and cherished supporters, I'm writing to announce that the suspension of my campaign pie for Congress for the simple reason lack of joy. Life is short. I believe one should enjoy their work. For the past 4 months, I have not enjoyed mine. The campaign is going well. We've conveyed even part of CA 45 at least once. We have a service message that resonates here in a purple district. We're raising money to be competitive, but my heart is not quite in it. Yeah, so that was I don't know. I just don't believe that he sent this as an error. Like, people always blame their political analysts or their advisors and stuff like that. Like, oh, that was his fault and I fired him. And no, that was your fault. Listen, the amount, and just like the publishers, just like the case at the beginning, with the apologies being sent out and he was testing the water, I'm giving Neo full credit for his quote-unquote publisher publishing on his Twitter. Because your publisher doesn't just tweet things willy-nilly, because if a publisher just tweeted things on your behalf without you even knowing, then that would not be your publisher. You would not allow somebody to just go into your account and just start tweeting without you even knowing. Like, that person will be fired immediately. Not just that, but these people have to go through so much acceptance, especially in the political sphere, that you do not post something that did not go through 5 other people in a political campaign. Even for, I think that what he said was he was running for a House seat in California. You're not going to just go through one person and then just tweet it. No, you're going to go through 5 different people, get it accepted, and then you're going to do the announcement, especially when you're sending out to your donor list, your email list. It has to go through even more. So I don't believe this at all. And this was an 8-hour gap. He probably was testing the waters, and then people were getting upset with him, and then he backed down from actually exiting the race. So I don't believe this whatsoever. Jeremy White, a reporter from Politico, noted that Tsai's new email got sent 8 hours after the first message was sent out on Thursday morning. Tsai's now retracted message says that his 2024 effort was going well, but found his heart not quite in it, and announced the suspension of his congressional campaign for a simple reason: the lack of joy. The Orange Counter Register noted that Thursday that Tsai has raised slightly more than $139,000, nearly $17,000 of which came from a loan to himself. The report said 2 other Democrats in the race, UC Irving Law graduate and TikTok influencer Cheyenne Hunt and Garden Grove council member Kim Burnett Nugent, have raised about $170,000 and $151,000 respectively, while Steele has raised more than $2 million. The primaries are set to take place in California in March. In the general election, Democrats are hoping to flip several GOP-held seats in the state, including the district held by 2-term Steele, as part of a strategy to retake the House, according to the Associated Press. Tsai's new message said that his call to service, not politics, far outweighs the emotional weight of his campaign candidacy. He cried his deep frustration with the lack of nonpartisan service as a reason why he is running, and told his supporters to rest assured, I'm here to run, win, and serve you the absolute best of my ability, come what may, and this has only strengthened my resolve to do so. So, I mean, I can see how this could be a political move by him because he's announcing his leave, his suspension of his campaign, and then he's going to garner some media attention from this, and then he's like, no, I'm back in the race, guys, see? And then people know his name now. Like, I didn't know I forgot his name already. I didn't know who he was already before this, but now I do because of this event. So, I don't know, it could be a political move by him, it could not be a political move by him, who knows? With that being said, we're going to be moving into the media's takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Moving into the next article, we actually have a CNN article where rapper Tory Lanez, quote, I have always maintained my innocence and always will. Okay, so if you guys don't know already what happened, I don't know where you have been living, I think under a rock, but I can explain the situation. So, Tory Lanez, I would say, how many months ago? 2020. Okay, so 2020, he was riding with Megan Thee Stallion, okay? And he had an argument with Megan Thee Stallion, the Stallion, okay? And because of this disagreement, he took out his gun and he said, dance, bitch, and started shooting at Megan Thee Stallion's feet, supposedly, and allegedly, maybe, and started shooting, and she didn't want to dance, I guess, so she got shot, I don't know, allegedly, and because of this, she had to go to the hospital, had to get physical therapy, could not walk for months. And then a few months later, she started dancing to WAP with Cardi B. And then I guess everything was allegedly good. But then he sent a text message allegedly to Megan Thee Stallion for $1 million bribe to shut her mouth. She didn't want to shut her mouth, so she went to court. Her best friend decided not to go with Megan Thee Stallion and instead go on the side of Tory Lanez because she got that sweet $1 million from him as a bribe. So the best friend that was sitting in the car that texted other people saying that Megan Thee Stallion was now shot did not want to come forward and say that this rapper, Tory Lanez, shot Megan Thee Stallion after she decided not to dance. Allegedly. Now, that's the whole entire situation. There's actually doctors that came forward in the trial that said, listen, I found fragments from the gun on her foot. The bullet I had to extract from her big toe, allegedly. Or I guess the doctors really did say that in court, so that's what the doctors were saying. And this shooting did happen. That's what the doctors were saying themselves. So because of the fact that he decided to make Megan Thee Stallion dance, she didn't want to dance. She got her foot blown up, or I don't know, I guess like shot up. And now he doesn't want to face any disciplinary actions for his doings, I guess. That's exactly what the situation is. I know it makes no sense at all, but that's exactly what happened. So this is CNN's report of this matter because I guess because of the fact that you wanted to make somebody dance, you don't have to go to prison now, but you do because you just shot somebody for no reason. If you use your gun to shoot people for no reason, you go to prison. Wow, welcome to the real world. We want to hold people accountable for what they do with guns, but then we don't want to hold them accountable at the same exact time, which does not make any sense. But according to CNN, days after being sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting rapper Thee Stallion, rapper Tory Lanez took to Instagram to say that he maintains his innocence. Quote, I will never let a hard time intimidate me. I will never let no jail time eliminate me, regardless of how they tried to spin my words. I've always maintained my innocence and I always will. Lanez said on Instagram. Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison on Tuesday for the 2020 shooting. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office told CNN, quote, I faced obscenity my whole life, and every time it looked like I would lose, I came out on top. This is nothing but another moment where my back is against the wall and I refuse to stop fighting until I come out victorious, Lanez said. Rough times don't last, tough people do, Lanez said. Lanez had pleaded not guilty to the assault of semi-automatic firearm, carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm and vehicle in discharge of the firearm with gross negligence. According to prosecutors, the jury convicted him on all three accounts. Stallion accused Lanez of shooting her in the foot after she exited a vehicle they had been riding and following an argument. Yeah, so I can see both sides. I can see Megan Thee Stallion's side a little bit more, especially when you go to the hospital and you need physical therapy. And she could not shake her quote-unquote WAP, So she was a little bit upset of the situation here. Now, with that being said, we're going to stop talking about this because this is drama, okay? This is one side versus one side. Obviously, we know what happened, okay? We already know. We don't need to rehash it. Okay, we're going to move on. Moving into the next article, we actually have an MSNBC article. We have COVID's back on the board, and ER doctors like me are bracing for an awful fall. Listen, 2 years ago, we had the President of the United States saying that it was going to be a deadly winter. Where did that deadly winter come from? Where did the deadly winter come from? There was nobody at the hospitals. Everybody was at home. Everybody was depressed because they were at home. But people like me were going out with no mask. I guess I was going out with no mask. To the convenience store, to Walmart, to Target, whatever the hell, I would not put on my mask. When I put on my mask, I could not breathe. So I decided to opt out because it's optional. And I did not care if you said I needed to, then I would just leave. Okay? Guys, think for yourself. Even if the number of COVID hospital admissions and deaths stay at the lower end of the estimates, the impact of our country's hospitals will be significant. I swear to God, if this happens again, I swear to God, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be crazy. I'm just telling you that. COVID's back on the board. A colleague said to me recently as he signed out of his emergency room shift, and I signed in at the beginning of mine. This summer, we saw the lowest estimated death rates attributable to COVID since we started regularly celebrating the presumed end of the pandemic. Those numbers fell to 6,300 hospitalizations and 500 deaths a week. But things just didn't stay there for long. Throughout the past month, COVID cases have been trickling back up. In the ER, COVID positive shows up on either the tracking board, either in the column that lists the reason for a patient's visit, or in the column used to communicate critical information to staff. So far, where I work, it's just been a few patients here and there, sprinkled in between the usual case mix. At the start of one of my shifts, an elderly woman was waiting for an inpatient bed. After feeling weak for 2 days and then collapsing in the shower at home, a wide range of diagnostic tests were beginning. But a positive COVID case explained her symptoms. Later that shift, I saw a patient who had a positive home test, but came in the symptom of severity. He's considered going back to work for the first time since long COVID sapped his energy capacity about a year ago, and he feared that the new infection would knock him back to where he started. Long COVID? This is not the first time that I heard long COVID. Listen, whenever you get sick at all and you're not fully better from anything, that's a sickness that you are trying to get better from. But if you're not bettering yourself overall, if you're not going to go to the gym, work out, you're not going to drink more orange juice, you're not going to take some more vitamins instead of just drugging yourself with pills, then you're not going to get better and your immune system is just going to get worse. Long COVID is an excuse for not doing what you have to do to make your body better. I can't. Estimates for the surge this fall and winter range from 484,000 to 839,000 hospitalizations and 45,000 to 87,000 deaths. Even if the actual number of hospital admissions and deaths stay on the lower end of those estimates, they will still be hugely significant. Yeah. First, health system capacity has not returned to normal, and right now, hospitals are already under strain. The staff is stretched to its limits. Waiting times are painfully long. Okay, this has always been the case. I went to the hospital about 10 years ago for an allergic reaction, and I saw a bunch of people waiting in the waiting room. This was 10 years ago. This was in 2013, 2015, the absolute latest. Well, I don't even think that was 2015. I think it was in first grade. So maybe even before that, 2008, 2009, I remember going to the hospital and the waiting room was full. And since I was having an allergic reaction, I went right through the doors and I went right into the back. But they were helping me first in the hallway and then they put me into the room. So this has never changed. Obviously, they want to sit here and say, COVID, COVID, COVID. Oh, fear, fear, fear. Fear me, fear me. That's exactly why they're doing this, because they know for a fact that people are going to fear getting sick, because people have always feared getting sick. And because of the fact that people fear, they can just get away with saying whatever the heck they want, and everybody's just going to believe them. It's sad. Moving into the next article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have, where have you all been? Gold Star mom slams Tapper media for silence on Biden's botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I completely agree. He got 13 people killed, and he decided to look at his watch the whole entire time when he was at their funeral. When they were honoring our fallen troops, he was sitting there looking at his phone as if he needs to watch the newest episode of Dr. Phil on TV. It's disgusting. Moving with the article, a Gold Star mom who lost her son in the terrorist bombing during the botched Afghanistan withdrawal confronted CNN host Jake Tapper about the media's silence over President Biden's handling of the withdrawal. Kelly Burnett, the mother of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, had noted in the past that her son had survived in the Afghanistan twice before he was murdered in the attack. She said he had told her he was concerned the moment that he landed and saw that what he saw. His words were chaos, no communication, lack of leadership. He said he never saw anything like it. He told me, "Mom, I know now that the command cares nothing about us." Burnett had stated, "My son, these 12 others left this earth thinking that their command cared nothing for them." Miss Barnett, I know that you have been hesitant to speak out about what happened to your son, Tapper said, and as he started his interview with her on The Lead with Jake Tapper. And I totally respect that. Why have you decided to talk publicly now about it? Quote, if you give me a little leeway here, when I first saw, the text saying CNN wanted to talk to me, I was so happy. Barnett responded, where have you all been? We needed you. Jake, we needed you. We needed CNN. We needed all of these other networks to voice our opinions, our truths to get out there. And this is awesome. This is the best thing in response for him. Because they're saying, where have you been? No. Where have you been, Jake Tapper? Where have MSNBC, CNN, Politico, AP, where have you all been when it comes to these people wanting to talk to the media? But nobody wanted to give them the story until now. So then she's here. She's talking about her son dying, being killed in a suicide bombing in the most despicable way possible. Quote, we need this country to come together, she continued. Quote, I want justice for my son. He fought and died for this country, not for conservatives, not for liberals. He fought for all of us. My job as a mom is to make sure that we come together and make sure that this never happens again. Tapper protested. Quote, we have been covering the story of the botched withdrawal since it happened, and it's just heartbreaking. Quote, you have said that Quote, you have said that the Biden administration lied to you about what happened that day, Tapper said. Quote, tell us more about that. What did they tell you that was wrong? Quote, first off, they told me that my son died on impact, which is completely 100% false. Burnett revealed he lived. He put on a tourniquet on himself. He handed out his ammo to his men because, gunfire is going off. So he did live for a little while. I know now because of witnesses that were there, where he was when he passed. They lied about where he was standing. And again, from witnesses, I now know where the truth is, she continued. Quote, I'm not really sure they even know where he was at this point. But I know where he was. They're given false statements. If President Biden were watching now, what would you want to say to him? Tapper asked. Quote, I want to say that he needs to be a grown man, Burnett replied. He needs to come out and say, yes, I made a mistake. I chose wrong. I was looking for a photo op and I messed up. This is what he needs to do. And I completely agree. Biden needs to take it like a man. And he needs to say, listen, yes, this withdrawal needed to happen, but it was at the wrong time. This is exactly what happened, and lay out the timeline of exactly what happened, and people will have a lot more respect for him. Except for looking at your watch and then going back on the news networks and saying, this was great. Oh my God, this was the best thing that I ever did. And I'm so accomplished and blah, blah, blah. You killed 12 people, maybe 13 people. It's crazy. It's despicable. And he's not even going to acknowledge them except for looking at his watch while he's supposedly trying to acknowledge them. Not great. Moving into the next article, we actually have a Daily Wire article. We have Trump says that he won't sign pledge to support GOP nominee if he loses the primary. Of course, we already knew that. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Breitbart article. We have, desperate Hawaiians beg billionaire residents Oprah, Bezos, Larry Ellison for help as wildfire devastates Maui. Local Hawaiians have called upon some of Maui's recent billionaire class to help them as wildfires devastate areas of the islands beyond recognition. Jeff Bezos, Oprah, and Larry Ellison represent some of the biggest names to have homes on the island's paradise along the Clint Eastwood Stephen Taylor, and Mick Flintwood of Flintwood Mac. Since the outbreaks of the devastating fire on Tuesday, which has claimed over 50 lives while leaving hundreds of homeless, residents have been openly asking for help. Lauren Cernrich, the fiance of Jeff Bezos, who owns a $78 million property on Maui, issued a statement on her social media in which she called the tragedy heartbreaking, while thanking people for helping out in the recovery efforts. Quote, "The tragically unfolding in Maui is beyond heartbreaking. Jeff and I have been on the phone with local residents and officials, and we will be making donations to help. Thank you to everyone there helping the recovery efforts on the ground and supporting those who have been struggling," she said. A source close to Bezos and Sanchez later told the Daily Mail that the couple is devastated by the disaster and plans to step up relief efforts with local officials. Quote, "They've been on the phone with locals and local officials since yesterday. They will be making donations to help the community," the source said. Oprah, who owns 2,000 acres of land in Maui, who has been living there part-time for 15 years, have not issued a statement as to how she plans to help the locals damaged by the fire. As the New York Post reported, Oprah owns 3 properties on the island as fires recently threatened her ranch in Kula. This past February, she paid $6.6 million for 870 acres of land in Kula, an area in central Maui, sandwiched between South Maui and up-county wildfires. Noted the Post, at least 2 homes have been destroyed in Kula, and some 80 people were evacuated from 40 homes, fire officials told the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. The celebrity most affected by the fire appears to be Mick Flintwood, who has called the town of Luna his home for decades. His local restaurant, Flintwood on Front Street, burned to the ground. "This is a devastating moment for Maui, and many are suffering unimaginable loss," Flintwood said. "Flintwood's on Front Street has been lost while we are heartbroken. Our main property is the safety of our dear staff and team members. On behalf of myself and my family, I share my heartfelt thoughts and prayers for the people of Maui," he said. "We are committed to supporting the community and those affected by this disaster in the days and months and years to come." Archel founder Larry Ellison, who owns a home in Maui and owns 98% of the nearby Luria Island, is not issued a statement on the matter. Aquaman star Jason Momoa, a native Hawaiian, has reportedly shared links on his social media accounts about the fundraising efforts. Singer B. Milder, also a homeowner in Maui, has been regularly sharing updates about the relief efforts. Yeah, it's crazy. You can see the before and afters, and I'll put a picture right here. The before and afters on this is just crazy. You can just see the devastation this caused. The before and then the after, it's just crazy. Everything's burnt to the ground. And that's what sucks so much. It's such a beautiful city. I mean, Maui is such a beautiful city, and Hawaii is such a beautiful country, or an island. Or Hawaii, I guess, is multiple islands. So all of Hawaii is such a beautiful landscape that when you look at the before and after, it's just crazy. The water is just so nice, but then after it's just so dark. Wow. I can't. I mean, this is sad. This is despicable too. Mother Nature has some really, really messed up plans for Earth. She really does. Moving on to the next article, we actually have a Federalist article. We have the FBI targeted traditional Catholics because they will never accept the left's pagan morality. It turns out that the FBI memo targeting Catholics as potential domestic terrorists wasn't limited to a single field office. FBI Director Christopher Wray claimed under oath last month to Congress, in addition to the Richmond, Virginia field office, the agency's Los Angeles and Portland offices were also involved. The memo, which was leaked earlier this year, singled out what it called radical traditionalist Catholics who attend parishes that offer the Latin Mass, in which the FBI seems to think are hotbeds of racially and ethically motivated violent extremists. Outrageous as it was from the FBI to try to monitor, surveil, and investigate American citizens based on their religion, it appears to have been coordinated effort, an effort that Way lied to Congress about, according to a newly unratified memo obtained by the House Republicans after months of the FBI stonewalling. Setting aside the absurd pretext that traditionalist Catholic parishes are fronts of white supremacy, the potential terrorism. It should come at no surprise that the FBI would target Latin Mass attending Catholics. Why? Because the FBI has become a tool of permanent regime in Washington, which will tolerate no resistance in their ideology, which is best understood as pagan morality, abortion, gender ideology, and the thinly veiled racism of critical race theory. In particular, are considered scared by the regime, traditional Catholics or radical traditionalist Catholics. In FBI parlance, oppose these things and will never accept them. That's the real reason why the FBI was targeting Catholics. It had nothing to do with the alleged threat of white supremacy, as the leaked memo claimed. Anyone with a passing familiarity with Latin Mass parishes knows they are just about the last place in America where you're likely to encounter white supremacists. The reason why is that Catholics who attend Latin Mass tend to take the Catholic Church's teaching seriously. Unlike supposedly devout Catholic Democrat politicians, including President Joe Biden and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Latin Mass attending Catholics oppose abortion, gay marriage, transgenderism, and racism in the gloss of CRT. They oppose these things not because of politics, but because they accept that Catholic Church's teachings on marriage and homosexuality, as well as the doctrine of Amargo Dei, that all people are created in God's image, regardless of race or sex, and therefore are all equal in God's eyes. The doctrine, by the way, is one of the pillars of Western civilization, without which our entire system of constitutional self-government would collapse. In fact, it's precisely this doctrine that offends the FBI and the regime it serves. Defending people according to the immutable and unchosen characteristics, such as race or sex, is what the political left wants to do. And it's what drives the left's opposition with skin color and so-called gender identity. Instead of a republic of free and equal citizens, the regime wants a collection of favored and disfavored groups to rule over, putting them against one another while doling out rewards and punishments based on alleged guilt and grievance. Faithful Christians will never accept this, nor will they accept an abortion as fundamental right and trumps all others, or the castration and sterilization of children in the name of transgenderism. Catholics who accept and obey the Church's Christian teachings on human sexuality and the dignity of rights of the unborn and the equality of all people before God, teachings that are unchanged and unchangeable, will never submit to the regime or adopt its pagan morality. Understood in that light, the FBI is right to treat traditional Catholics as a threat. If your goal is to force the country to accept an abortion, transgenderism, or race essentialism, then yes, Catholics, especially Catholics who attend Latin Mass, are going to be a problem for you. You're going to want to keep an eye out on them, maybe infuriate their parishes with informants and spies, maybe tap their phones, maybe more. In order to pull that off under the guise of legitimate federal law enforcement investigation, you also might have to pretend you're doing it for fear of white supremacy, which Biden himself has named the number one threat facing America today. What better excuse could the FBI have to monitor Christians than stopping white supremacists from launching terrorist attacks? 3 FBI field officers were involved in drafting this memo. How many hundreds of FBI agents and supervisors had a hand in crafting it? How many saw it? Those are questions Way is going to have to answer. But he won't have to tell us why the FBI did it in the first place. We already know. Exactly, and I completely agree with this article because they're going to say one thing but then do another behind the scenes, or they're going to just spy on us altogether because they have no idea what actual Christians stand for. They have no idea what actual conservatives stand for. And that's the sad part of the average politician, because they have no idea what they're even saying. They're doing this, licking their finger, putting it up in the wind and seeing which way the wind blows, and then they go that way, or they go the other way, or they'll go both in one day, depending on what exactly the reaction that they are getting has on their political campaign. But with that being said, we're going to be ending this podcast off here. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. If you do like this show and you want to see more, like and subscribe down below, because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.